What's up, guys, and welcome back to a Christmas episode.
Merry Christmas
of the Honest Tattooer podcast, brought to you by Tattoo Smart and Tattoo Pro. My name is John Mesa. I'm with my co-host, Matt Truiano.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
And our special guest, Dean Sahar. What's up, man? Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know you, let them know your name, where you're from, how long you've been tattooing, and what kind of tattoos you like to do.
All right. So you introduced me. My name is Dean Sahar. I'm from all over the place. I'm from Israel. I'm from London. I've been all over. What kind of tattoos do I like to do? Traditional illustrative, I guess. I'm not like super Brooklyn traditional, but I like to keep it simple. I like to do a lot of color work. I like to, a little Japanese twist, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
And how long have you been tattooing?
Been tattooing for 5 years now.
5 years now. Holy shit, man.
Wow,
Time fucking flies, bro.
Yeah.
Really, you think?
God damn, yeah.
I feel like I should be in the 10 range already. I've been in the industry for so long.
So that's something that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
So even though you've been tattooing for 5 years, you've been in the tattoo industry for how long, would you say?
Wow. I'd say definitely around the 15.
Around 15
but probably even more. I mean, I was a hanger-outer like late 90s. I'd skip school and go hang out at the tattoo shop. Mm-hmm. My brother was a piercer at the tattoo shop. He's a tattoo artist now. He was a piercer, and I'd skip school and I'd hang out at the tattoo shop. And
was that back in Israel or in
that was in Israel, actually.
Oh,
that was
shit,
in
cool.
Israel. The 90s. Great times. So I did that, and then I guess I went and studied, and then I came back to work in tattoo shops around 2010.
Yeah.
So I had a period there where I wasn't really that much involved. I was still doing conventions. Mm-hmm. Like I lived in Italy for a lot of years, so whenever my artist friends from Israel would come in, I would like work the booth. You know what I mean? I worked the Milan Tattoo Convention a couple of times. I worked the London Convention a couple of times. So I'd be traveling around there, and I'd always work conventions, and I'd facilitate. I'd be the facilitator. I always spoke the language, and I knew the people. But really, around 2010 is where I really got my foot in the door, I guess you could say, because, I guess it's once you start getting paid is when you're actually working at the tattoo shop. And I'd say that was around 2010.
Cool. So you turned out just being a hanging outer to actually getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, every hanging outer's dream.
Yeah, true.
Because it's like I think it's amazing how if you really like hanging out at a shop and you're like, dude, I'd be here all day hanging out with the guys. Like, fuck, man, that you should try to make that your job.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of guys that just hung out at the shop just because they wanted to be there. They had no interest in learning how to tattoo, though. Like, just hung out at the shop, answered the phones, maybe help book out some appointments, but asking them to learn how to tattoo was like they had no interest in that at all.
Well, that's what I wanted to touch on. Just because you have no interest in tattooing, it doesn't mean that you're not an asset to a tattoo shop.
Right.
Some people some of the guys that are just, they hang out at the shop, they're better at talking to clients than some of the artists.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. They just have the gift of gab. They know how to talk to people. They know how to make people feel comfortable. They know how to ask the right questions and make people feel like, oh man, this place is cool. I want to hang out here. And they build connections. And then the tattooer can just focus on just doing their drawing and tattooing. And then the person leaves happy and they feel like, oh man, that group of people over there were great.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a key role in a tattoo shop.
I mean, I definitely did that for many years. You know what I mean? For many, many, many years, I did that job. So definitely, when I was doing that job, I felt like that was the whole deal. Like, let the artist deal with the art, and let the front person deal with the pricing and figure it out. And I remember when I was working in Miami, and people would come in with all sorts of crazy ideas and crazy references, and you'd go to the artist, and he's like, and at that stage, I got to say, when you're a hanger-outer, and in reality, until you're actually tattooing, I think there's a lot of things you don't understand.
Yeah.
You think you understand, but you don't. You don't understand why something needs to be this way or that way. Why does the artist want this particular to be this way or that way? You don't. You think you understand, but until you're actually tattooing, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
And but my job was basically to soften, I guess, the client up to a point where he'll do whatever the artist wants.
The trust.
The trust.
Like, trust me, this guy's incredible. He does.
Yeah.
Let him do his thing.
Pretty much. If there was a flash they wanted, I feel like that was always like the best case scenario. Everybody wants to do a flash. You know what I mean? Flash is great, I feel like, for everybody around. It's a tattoo that's been proven throughout the years that it looks good. The artist can replicate it in most cases, 1-to-1, or put his little twist on it. Whatever it is, it's if you have an artist that's technically good, it's going to look good. And the shops that I always worked at, the artists were always technically really good. They were really good in general, but their technique was like superb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which shop do you work at in Miami?
So I worked at the Love Hate, which was the Miami Ink shop. From the show. And
did you work there while they were filming?
No, I worked there afterwards. So they had already actually they had moved 2 stores down. They kept the original one for a little bit and became like a clothing store. They were selling their like merchandise and shit, but they moved 2 doors down because the original store was tiny. It was really small. It was, I don't know, it was like a room and a half, And the shop they moved to, which was like 2 doors down, was enormous. And there was the whole set of artists. Some of the original artists were still there, but not everybody. And there was obviously a crew of resident artists, and they were all super, super proficient, And I just had to, it was tough, when you're dealing with artists who are, I don't know if the word is high end is the right word, but they're technically very skilled. They want you, the floor guy, to understand what they want. But like I said, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You think you do. You're trying your best, but you don't really.
It's like having a girlfriend that wants you to read her mind, dude. It's like no. Just know it. You need to know already.
It takes time. It takes so much time. It took me so much time to understand what they wanted. And I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, just tell me what I would often end up and be like, just tell me what you want to do. Tell me what right now, what the customer wants. You have that info. What do you want to do with that? And I'll sell it. I'll sell it to them. And normally I'd say 90% of the times, it would happen the way the artist wants.
Yeah.
The client is there. He's there for a reason. He knows the shop. Some of them, they just wanted to get tattooed at Miami Ink. They didn't necessarily have the idea of what this artistic tattoo would be. They wanted the experience. And I feel like a lot of times that's what it is. You can be not the best artist, but if you're giving a good experience to this person, this person's going to come back. This person might be stoked and become your client for life. And obviously, I don't know tattoo artists who are not trying to give the best tattoo they can. So I feel like as long as you're transmitting that and doing that, people will be stoked.
I think so. I think that's the part of like the job that I feel like it's 60 to 70% of what most people don't understand that tattooing is, like most people think it's like you're just doing the technical part of the tattoo, but they don't the communicating, the having somebody understand your idea, especially when you're working on larger projects where this is going to come together. Just trust me on this.
Especially when you're new also, and you don't have that big of a clientele and you don't have that extensive of a portfolio that I mean, when you're in it for a while, you have a reputation. People know what to expect of your work.
Yeah.
When you don't have all of that behind you to back up your word, you have to learn how to talk to people and communicate. Like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah.
And like, you got to collaborate with your customer also.
Tattoo armor is literally the best way to wrap your client. I've been using it, Matt's been using it, and it's just awesome. There's no mess, there's no glue, and it's just super comfortable. I hope you can try it for yourself and just go on to Tattoo Armor and use the code Honest Tattooer for 20% off your order.
After I got the chance to sit down with Matt and John on the Honest Tattooer podcast, the Force of Focus got amazing feedback when it comes to the Hello to Healed process, networking strategies, and most of all, creating your own personal brand and culture. So I want to give you the opportunity to take 15% off by coming to join the Force of Focus arena. Now, this is a community of high-achieving tattoo artists who are all here for one reason: to be around like-minded individuals who all want to grow not only in our personal lives, but within our businesses. We're going to walk with you side by side to build out every system you could ever imagine to not only ensure the fact you're on the right path, but how to be able to see your dream life and then achieve it. Now, I have a laundry list of artists who have been able to achieve their dreams, and if you're ready to do the same, click the link below and let's get a conversation going.
There's something that I've been thinking about. Like, I still stay in touch with some people that like I tattooed when I was, like 5 years, 6 years into tattooing, and I kept tattooing them like over the years, but like some of these guys like gave me my first, like, I want you to do like my whole calf, like from the knee down, like the first people that like gave me the chance to like go beyond the little flash tattoo, And I always think about like, oh man, like they saw something at that moment in time, or they just believed in me at that moment in time. And I would love to like have a conversation with one of those people that we tattooed early in our careers, just to hear their perspective of like how they saw us at that moment in time.
You know what I think about often too is those people who gave you such big pieces of canvas early on. Now that they see your work 10, 15 years later, are they like, fuck, man, I should have waited? Or are they proud to have like this early installment of your work?
I know.
You know what I think? I think some of them can't tell the difference, Yeah. They like you, the way you look, it's not, I guess not really can't tell the difference, but the work is good. They like it. It's on them. And then they can't see the small subtleties that you're looking at or I'm looking at and like, oh, I would have done this completely different. I would have done this. They don't see the same jumps that you're looking at, even though to you...
I hope not, man, because
it's like, I hope.
Pretty evident. But then, there's people too that I've talked to who have like one of Paul Booth's first tattoos and it's terrible, but they're like, nah, man, I would never cover this. I would never exchange it. It's like a piece of history.
Yeah, it's a piece of history.
Do you think that the experience element of it is disappearing? Because as you were saying that, I was like, I'm thinking about all the artists that they're like, they don't talk to you and they have their headphones in and it's like, is that the experience now? Is that what people want? They want the tattoo artist to put their headphones in and, not look at them and not talk to them. And, and like, do people want to get alienated? Is that like a thing,
Damn. I mean, I don't know, dude. That's a good question. But I think that for the most part, people like talking to people, man. Yeah. Like, especially and I think people like to talk. People do like to talk, and people like to talk about their experience or whatever. They want to share, and I feel like that's human nature. Like that's, people want to do that. So I think like if some people are fine with it, but I don't think it's the optimal situation. I don't think that's the best. Some people are like, yeah, that's fine if you want to put your headphones on, and yeah, I'll put mine on too. But I would think would you rather just have a good conversation with someone, or would you rather just be in your own world and I'll be in my own world, Yeah.
I think it goes case by case.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I feel like most people would like to talk to somebody.
I mean, I like to talk to people when I'm tattooing.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to get to know who I'm tattooing and what their deal is. And like you said, it's about making a connection sometimes.
Yeah.
The tattoo itself, it's not obviously not secondary. It's the main thing. But the memory of the experience is also a huge thing.
Yes.
The actual memory. Like I definitely know people I just remembered, I definitely know somebody who got tattooed by like the headphones in style tattoo, and it's a good looking tattoo, and was, super expensive, and they want to remove it.
Damn.
Because they're like, it was kind of like the experience.
Were the tattoos that sick?
Tattoo's pretty good. Tattoo's good. The tattoo's good. Like, there's no faults in it. But I look at it also, is it for what it cost? Because there's that element too. I guess a really good tattoo doesn't have a price. You know what I mean? But in reality, I feel like it does. You know what I mean? Like, if you're buying fine art and you bought an art piece for $1 million, but in reality, its value is $100,000. It's not gonna. I don't know. I feel like when the value doesn't match.
That's so hard to say, because I feel like I have a tattoo that and this is funny. I got tattooed by Bob Tyrell at the old Last Rites tattoo, and when if you worked at Last Rites, or if you got a tattoo, it was a very standard way of charging, right? It was like, as soon as that tattoo started, that time they would just start timing.
Yeah.
And then whenever the tattoo was done, they stopped the time. And it was not up to the artist. The front desk person or manager was the one keeping the time. And if anyone knows Bob Tyrell, he's a very slow, kind of meticulous tattooer. He does amazing work, but he's very slow. And towards the end, Bob was like, "Oh, dude, I feel so bad that you have to pay so much for this tattoo. Like, I feel terrible about it. Like, if you would have got this for me at a convention, I would have just charged you this much." And I'm like, fuck, because I'm about to pay like double that. Yeah, I'm like, why would you tell me that?
Damn.
I want to play double this right now. He was like, "Get tattooed by me again somewhere else. I'll do something else." And I'm like, but at the end of after the tattoo's so perfect. I still love it. It looks still amazing. I've never thought about the price of the tattoo ever again.
Yeah.
Also, it wasn't like it was something like I paid so much that like it broke my financial, like it wasn't like, it was a lot, but I was fine with it. I was like, I got to like get tattooed by freaking Bob Tyrell. This guy's a freaking legend. Like the tattoo looks amazing. Like afterwards, like we finished late. We got to go to a bar, have a couple of drinks. Like I was like, this was awesome. I never thought about the price of it ever again.
I personally don't either. You know what I mean? Like I said, a good tattoo is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's priceless.
It's priceless.
It's priceless. You know what I mean? But if you're having an experience that's not great, you had a great experience with Bob Tyrell. He's a legend. You know what I mean? And he's even laughing at how much he's charging you. But sometimes you have an experience doesn't match what you paid for, and then I definitely know people who are like, meh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
it wasn't worth it at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's their taste that changed.
That could be. Like, and back to what we were talking about like talking. I just remembered last time I was getting tattooed, I was getting destroyed, bro. I was on the back of my knee, side of my knee. It hurt like hell, and I'm getting tattooed by Chris Garver, and we're having a good conversation, but he's hitting some spots that I could barely listen to anything he's saying, because I'm just like, oh my God, this sucks. This sucks so bad. And I'm just like in my mind, and I'm literally trying to do like my meditation, like chant in my head, dude, just to like get it over with. But that's one of those moments where I'm like, all right, dude, I want to talk, but I can't really talk right now because this sucks so bad. And I think that's far and few in between most of the time. I feel like most of the time I like to talk or be talked to. Like I like when people tell me a story.
Yeah.
If I'm getting tattooed, don't ask me questions that I have to talk. You talk to me.
While I'm tattooing, I find myself, I like to talk to my client, but I'm often never the first one to initiate the conversation. So if my client sits down and I see he's got his phone in his hand, he's watching some YouTube videos or whatever, I'm like, cool. That's it. That's what you're going to do. I'll tattoo. Cool. And like the guy that I tattooed today, we started off having a good conversation, and then he started watching some videos. I got deep into tattooing, and then we probably talked for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 3 hours after that was just silent.
Damn.
Because he was just watching his videos. And
Yeah.
I kind of followed his lead on it. I was like, all right, cool.
All right.
But then there are people who, like, before we even start tattooing, they walk in the door and they're just like, yeah,
Chatterbox.
Yeah, that's cool too. So I always follow their lead, whatever they want.
Oh man, whenever I find like there's like a little bit of just a little bit too much silence, you know, I'm like, so what you been up to, man? What's life going on right now?
Yeah.
What's new with this? If they're reading, dude, I don't know why, but when somebody starts reading and I'm tattooing, I'm like, what are you reading? Like,
You want to live vicariously.
yeah, dude.
You want to live
What are you
vicariously
reading?
through them.
You know, and then we're going to talk about books. I'm going to tell you about books I read. You're going to tell me about other books you've read, and I'm going to bring you back to now.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like sometimes people will use those things, like whether it's like watch a movie or watch some videos, just to like disconnect from the moment. And I'm like, come back to the moment, you know, realize where we're at, realize what you're doing. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's make
Like,
this a thing.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
In a way, you're missing out a little bit.
Yeah. It's just not the
just
time to
about-
escape.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like be here.
Unless I feel like I'm tattooing the ribs.
Yeah. Unless
Escape.
you're like really
Escape.
hurting them, you know,
Please,
and then
go,
I'm like,
escape. Find
Yeah.
find that place where you can just be chill.
If you're a tattoo artist who uses an iPad, you're going to want to watch this. Since 2016, Tattoo Smart has been curating an incredible collection of digital flash. We work with the best artists in every style to make reference material that you can use to save time and make your clients happy. Now's your chance to fill your iPad with Tattoo Smart's digital tools. Everything is 60% off this Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
We're dropping prices lower than ever before.
So make sure you log in at tattoosmart.com and fill your cart with our best-selling flash, toolkits, and 3D body parts.
My name is Jamie Snedeker, and I'm the owner of Southernmost Tattoo. Some of the issues that I ran into before using Tattoo Pro were not having all of my systems in one place. I knew I needed something different than what I was using, so I started searching for tattoo-specific software and ran into Tattoo Pro. Set up a consult, and within a day, they contacted me, and within a week I was set up. Scheduling, release forms, payroll, artist schedule, client information, and now it's all in one place.
Since we started using Tattoo Pro, our workflow has improved dramatically. No more scheduling mishaps, and our clients love the easy online booking. It's literally helped us grow the business.
With Tattoo Pro, we've doubled our revenue in the last year, and we've increased our staff by 4 artists. If you're considering using Tattoo Pro, it's a no-brainer. It'll give you more time to do the things that you love, such as tattooing and running your business. Call and set up a demo today. You won't regret it.
I've been reading this book. The guy has this chant or mantra, like when he's like doing meditation. He goes, "I am not the I am not the body. You are not the body. You are not even the mind." And last time I was getting tattooed, I was like, "I am not the body. I am not even the mind." And I would just keep saying it over and over and over. And dude, it actually helped a lot. Like just saying that over and over, repeating it, and just listening to my voice. And I was getting tattooed. I could hear the tattoo machine, people in the shop, but I was just repeating it over to myself. And I was like, that made it easier for some reason. Like for that little bit where it was in a tough spot, man. And I was like, oh man, that works.
I feel like, I don't know if it's like hypnotizing, but sometimes if I'm tattooing somebody and they're having a hard time, my voice I start talking slower, and I really go through like this, I go through something with them where I'm like talking to them about how to breathe and what their thoughts maybe should be. Maybe I tell them about my own like mantra, whatever it is. And, but I notice my voice gets really slow and low, and it brings people into this like calm state of mind. And I feel like that helps too.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. So the book is called Inner Engineering.
Inner engineering.
Inner Engineering. And it's written by a yogi, and it just talks a lot about kind of finding peace within yourself. And, you know, how the better you get at finding peace within yourself, it doesn't matter what's going on externally, you will still be at peace. Because it's like, oh, things burning down, it's fine.
I find it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I find the zone.
It works 60% of the time.
100%
Every time, dude.
Like literally.
Yeah.
And you know what else is a part of my mantra? An edible. An edible before getting tattooed. I don't know if I should promote it. I don't always do it. I don't know what the rules are.
There are no rules.
But I feel like it totally it makes me. So we were talking about the cold baths earlier, like an ice bath.
Yeah.
If I eat an edible and I go into an ice bath, I will be there for like 20 minutes.
Damn.
I become
the ice.
Kind of. I become an amoeba inside an ice cake. That's what I imagine I am. And I literally have one brain cell left. Like you can't think anymore. You're not thinking. You become nothing. And I do that with tattooing too. You know, when I'm getting tattooed, that's the place that I try and go to. That's why I like doing ice baths also a little bit before a tattoo to remind me of that place.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's the whole, put yourself under stress and learn to manage stress.
Aggressive meditation.
Aggressive meditation.
You have to find the place. Like, I don't think I've ever actually had, maybe once I've had somebody not be able to get the tattoo done.
True.
Once, like literally once in the very, very beginning. And I think they never had a tattoo before and they had no idea what they're getting into and they were not into it,
Yeah. They're like, this is not what I want.
This is not what I was expecting it would be.
Shit.
I've had a few people not be able to finish their outline, which sucks.
Yeah.
And if it's a bigger piece, I get it. Like the one guy I'm thinking of recently, he was getting his entire torso done from like his collarbone to his belly button. He couldn't manage the entire outline, which whatever, fine. I get it. That's a tough spot. I was able to re-stencil a lot of it. But years ago, I had a girl who, similar spot, she was getting it on her like side hip belly area, just a rosary bead. And I did not get through the entire outline of the rosary.
Oh, damn.
Maybe 15 minutes into it, and she was like, I am done. And then she came back 2 weeks later wanting to finish it. I was like, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah, like,
So
but the freehand all these rotary beads.
That's crazy.
Rotary beads.
Or re-stencil.
I mean, I've never tapped out, but I've definitely had the involuntary, I call it when your legs are just moving up and there's like this sound that's kind of like, and I definitely have had an artist who, but it was, a multi-session tattoo on the ribs, and it was a I don't know what session it was, the third, the fourth, God knows, but it was very shortly after another session and was on my ribs, and my ribs were still like black and blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still had like little.
I've gotten black and blues from getting tattooed. And shit was gnarly,
I was getting
dude.
punched.
Yeah.
And they were doing another session, and my legs were just like, and like going up, involuntary. And this particular artist, who was a friend, also just I remember he took the gloves off. He kept pushing my legs down when they went up. He kept pushing. It's like, Dean, stop doing that. And eventually, he just literally took the gloves off, threw them in my face, and was like, we're done for today.
So you're done.
You're
kid.
done. And then I think it was months till I did another session. It's also, your body's traumatized, your mind is traumatized.
Oh, yeah. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
I've had those sessions.
Yep.
So let's fast forward, dude, to when you started wanting to learn to tattoo.
All right, started. So once I was in Miami, I was the office guy there. I started as the office guy. While I guess I was the office guy, I was shadowing the shop manager for like months. I'd be in the office during the day.
Is that Santa? It's just Truiano sweater coming out.
That sweater was too hot.
The hot, ugly sweater.
The hot, ugly sweater.
So I wanted to tattoo. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I was working in the office, so I was answering phone calls and answering emails, and I was doing that during the day. And then it was a shop that was open for 12 hours, so I would do that for like 6 or 8 hours, and then I'd take a break, I'd go eat something, and I'd come back and I would shadow the floor manager in that shop. Now, I never hid the fact that I kind of wanted to tattoo, but in reality, when you first walk into shops like that, especially shops at that level, Chris Garver worked there, Ami James worked there, you know, a lot of Chris Nunez. He wasn't really there when I was there, but a lot of good artists, you know, back then, especially they were like, you know, the big Darren Brass, they're all big artists. Then it was the tattoo school is closed. That's how they you know.
The polite note was like, tattoo's closed, man. Tattoo school is closed, bro.
Like, this job is not leading to that at all. Like, we don't know what you're even talking about. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, at least I got my foot in the door. And I'll stick to what I can do. And in a way, you want to be like, I'll show them. I'm the best floor guy manager ever, you know. So I did that for a while, and I'd sit in the office and I'd trace a lot of shit. I remember I used to sit there with like, they had so many books there, so many good books. One of my go-to one was like a Tim Hendricks, his little pinup line work thing, and I would just trace that all day. But I didn't really nobody even guided me. You know what I mean? The tattoo school was really closed. You know, they didn't want to show me anything. So I was just doing what I thought I should be doing, which was not obviously the right thing, because I wasn't really copying Flash. I wasn't copying reference. I was just doing what I thought to prove that I have, I guess, the drive. You know what I mean? I was just, I'll work. How many hours do you want me to work? 14 hours a day? How many coffees do you want me to bring? You know what I mean? How many meals do you want? It was kind of, it was tough. You know, it was real tough, because you know what you want, and people are like, they're closing the door on you like daily.
They're like, you want it? No.
Not possible. And so, you know, they'd be like, you don't know what you're doing with watercolors. So I'd go do a watercolor course, unrelated to tattoos. You don't know how to draw, I'd go take a drawing course. You know what I mean? And I guess I would just try and improve on all these things. Mm-hmm. I guess after a while there, like 5 years, I was like, I'm not apprenticing here. They're never gonna give me that. You know, after also 5 years of being office guy, then shop guy, shop manager, shop assistant. You know, I went through every possible job that you have that's not tattooing that shop. I did. You also, you know, people like you, people don't like you. After 5 years, they start getting various opinions about you, and now your chances could be even slimmer. Yeah. You know? So, I mean, I was trying so hard, man. I was just telling Matt earlier, at some point I realized, I need to do Flash. I need to do watercolors. I need to do like with reference. And I would sit at home for hours. That was, you know, obviously everybody's gone through that, but I had like my walls. I had like triple layers of watercolors on my walls. And in reality, nobody knew that in the shop. You know, they never came to my home. They just assumed I don't do shit. They had no idea that I was actually sitting at home every day watercoloring. Yeah. And it's funny, I remember the moment that I first made the watercolor run smoothly. I don't know if I remember that moment clearly. It took me 6 months of just trying to make like getting the motion
nice,
and then I did this gradient, and I was like, oh my God, there's like 5 gradients here, and they're smooth. And in reality, the jump was once I bought nice watercolor paper and a nice brush.
materials.
Materials. But for 6 months, I tried it with like the worst materials, and I made it happen. It happened, but it wasn't nice. And then I bought nice shit, and suddenly it looked nice. So after that period of time, once I realized that this might not be happening, I actually took a trip to New York. I had a friend that was coming over. He was going to hang out in New York. He was going to see a Faith and War show. And he was like, hey, you're in Miami. Why don't you just come down to New York? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go down to New York. And that weekend happened to be the Ed Hardy talk at Kings Ave. I don't know
cool.
If there was an art exhibition. He had all his what do you call them? The Panthers that are all, they're like Panther Rose, and they're all like weirdly
morphs.
The morphs. So, and it was a talk, and I was like, yo, yeah, I'll go to New York just for this.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, and dude, it was super, super inspirational. You know what I mean? Like Ed Hardy talked about a lot of things. One of the things that he talked about the most, not the most, but inspired me the most, was he was talking about his first years of actual tattooing. And he was like, my whole first 10 to 20 years, it was a different time. It was like my first 10 years, 20 years, all those tattoos fell out. They all sucked. And he's like, he was glad that they fell out. And he was just talking about, it was the same for him. Tattoo school is closed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of people go through that. It's almost like it's that test of how bad do you want this?
Yeah.
Like we're telling you no, are you going to keep pushing? So once that happened, I went back to after that show, and, I met Ed Hardy, and it was just super inspirational. I went back to Miami, and I was like, I'm moving to New York. Like, I'm done with Miami. Tattoo school is actually closed, and they kept telling me that, by the way, in Miami, they kept telling me the tattoo school is closed. And then they'd be like, oh, we have a new apprentice.
That's fucked.
And I'd be like, fuck. And I get it. Sometimes it wasn't really, sometimes it wasn't new. It was an old new. They were like, oh, he's been here before. And now we're going to try again. And now this guy and now that guy. And I felt like, okay, these people were before me and they deserved it and whatever. But I just kept getting pushed to the back of the line, constantly.
Yeah.
So I moved to eventually I started saving up money, and it was actually a funny situation. I didn't tell anybody that that's it, I'm done. At this point, I didn't even try anymore with the
Miami grant.
With the Miami people. I didn't even care anymore. I was still doing my Flash and still doing drawings and probably doing like a course in like some art school there. But I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm moving to New York, and now I need to make money. I need to work and make money, and that's all I did. I worked as many shifts as I could, working the floor, making money, getting as many tips as I could. I still worked in the office. I still worked in the shop. I kept all those jobs. It was like separate jobs, but at this point, I had them all. I was like doing the office. I was doing the emails. I was working the floor. I was mopping the floor. I was selling tattoos. There was like my hands were in everything in the shop. So I was like, just make money, just work. And then at some point, about 6 months after this New York trip, Ami actually asked me, I was like, hey, Dean, do you want to move to New York? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the floor person at our New York shop is leaving. She's going to move to a different job within the organization or whatever. And we need a floor manager or a floor person, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, let me think about it for a second.
Yes.
And I remember, he was kind of surprised how fast I answered.
Yeah.
And he was like, but listen, you might have to move tomorrow. Like, it's going to be fast. I was like, do you want me to go home right now and pack? Like, I'm
should I do it now or later?
I'm ready. I'd been saving money, and I was planning this anyways. So, maybe 2 months later, I moved to New York. Once I was in New York, I was working in the shop, and I remember, I was first few months, I was like couch surfing and all that. I remember staying at my friend's couch, and I was like, I'm in New York. I have money. I could get tattooed by anybody. And the New York shop already had an apprentice, by the way. So, like, I didn't know where that was even a possibility, and I didn't really have my hopes up with them. I was like, it would have happened already in Miami if it would have.
Yeah.
And so I was just looking to get tattooed by an idol. Who is the legend that I can think of? We're in New York. You can get tattooed by anybody. All the good artists are here, In reality, all the good artists have always passed through New York. Mm-hmm. And that's tattooing and art world and
music and everywhere,
everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, who do I really want to get tattooed by? And the first name that came up was Anil Gupta. Mm-hmm. Anil Gupta, when in the 90s, when I was a hanger-outer, the internet was like a brand new thing. And, if you looked up tattoo artists, there were only like 2 websites. And it was like Ed Hardy and Anil Gupta.
That's hilarious.
there were, our tattoo artists didn't really, websites, what the fuck is that? But, here are 2 people that are like, they were always ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So I was like, Anil Gupta. And I was like, and to be honest, there was also an element of like, Anil Gupta was not, I don't know if I should say this, but I feel like a lot of people back then didn't necessarily like his style of tattooing, especially if you came from traditional or American traditional. He was like the enemy, you know what I mean? He was like the art student.
The fine artist.
The fine line, the fine artist, the micro tattooing. Like as far as I'm concerned, he invented that shit. So I decided to go and get tattooed by him, and maybe there was a little bit of spite in there too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I knew maybe where the shops that I've been coming from, they were like, they would hate that.
You know what's gonna tick them off?
They're really gonna hate that.
Oh man.
And and I went and I met up with him, and he has a very weird way of doing things. It's really different than anything that I've seen before. Now it's probably more the norm, you know what I mean? Like, the consultation has a fee. Mm-hmm. The consultation had a fee. It wasn't the deposit didn't go towards your tattoo. And the consultation also didn't necessarily mean you're getting tattooed.
Mm-hmm. It was just like, I'm going to talk to you and see if I'm interested.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And, I went there, and as soon as I started talking to him, I was like, I know who I'm dealing with. Like, I've met this character, everybody's unique, and especially Anil, but I was like, I've met this type of character before in the other tattoo shops. This might be a little difficult. Mm-hmm. But I was like, immediately I knew that he might not be into my idea, or what it really was, I started telling him what I wanted to get as far as the tattoo, and I could tell immediately he just wasn't into it. And
what did you ask for?
I wanted a rat. I wanted a rat gnawing its like own tail and on my wrist. So it would have been like super, super small. And I also have a pin up there. And he just starts going like, so you want a rat, huh? A dirty rat, the animal that brought the plague to the US. That's what you want. This
you want disgusting vermin.
Disgusting vermin. And then he's like, and you want it next to your pinup. Don't you think it's gonna look like a chihuahua? And just like, and I'm sitting there, and the truth is, I already had a backup plan. I already had a second idea. I don't know why. I had a feeling. I guess that I did meet up with him the first time just to talk about the possibility of a consultation. So I spoke to him for a little bit, and I had a feeling that it was going to happen. And then I was like, you know what? How about we do one of your fucking miniatures.
Yeah.
That's what you're known for. You're known for miniatures. You invented that shit. Nobody really, and even today, I feel like some of the things that he did, they look fucking crazy, And so I was ready with a backup idea, and I was like, let's do a fucking miniature, and let's do it on my finger. And suddenly, dude, his face.
She was like,
He was like, all right. And, I think it was also the challenge.
Yeah.
And one of the first thing that he said, he's like, that it's a miniature and it's going on the finger and it might not end up looking the way we expect.
Yeah.
Like this is a possibility. And I feel like that's interesting because I don't know if people still do that. You know what I mean? Do people still explain that about miniature tattoos or finger tattoos when they're that complicated? Because that's always a possibility. The lines, everything, they're so small that like a millimeter of change is a complete change of expression, a complete movement that's not supposed to be.
It'll be a complete mush.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna, yeah.
Not just the mush of how it ages, but the actual, even that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that
sure.
day, it might not look like we were all expecting.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have to pay what you have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit him with that idea, and he was totally down. And it was, I got a wolf on my finger, and the wolf is like 9 years old now, or whatever.
Show it to the camera. Try to put it on like this. Get a little closer, little closer, little closer. Yeah, a little closer. Right there.
Really?
Yes, stand nice and still. There it is. Cool.
And, I don't know how it's going to show on the video, but I think it looks so good after. So I don't see that many miniatures that old that look that good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on the finger.
Especially on
the finger, yeah.
And when it was done, it looked amazing. I still think it looks amazing, but I also see what it used to look like,
Right.
It was so much more vibrant and sharper, but just the fact that I can tell that it's a wolf with a bunch of details on the finger 9 years later it's a miracle. It's a Christmas. It's a Christmas
miracle.
You know what? Now that you say that, dude, it really bothers me when people say like, "Oh, you can't get that because it'll fall out."
It bothers you?
Yeah, because I know for a fact you can get things to stay. Like it might not look as crisp with years later down the line, but the idea that it's gonna just fall out, like, then you're not gonna do it right.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my opinion. Like, if you do a tattoo right, it doesn't matter where you put it, dude. It'll be there. Maybe the quality of it is not gonna be the same, but it should not necessarily fall out. It'll still be there. So like when people say like, "Oh, I don't do that because that falls out," I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" Just say I don't do that. I'm not good at that. Just admit that you're not good at something.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that that's not possible. It's possible. You just can't do it, and it'll fall out for you.
Right. I mean, if it were impossible, then nobody would be able to do it.
Then nobody would be able to do it, But so many times, like I've dude, even here, I've heard tattooers tell people, "Oh no, you can't do the side of the finger; it'll fall out." I'm like, motherfucker, I've done side of the fingers that are there like fucking 8-9 years later. Like I've seen it, dude. It's not impossible. A lot of things are not. It's not that it's impossible. It's hard.
It's hard. Sometimes it depends also on the
person.
On the person.
Yeah.
The person's skin and how they heal, and honestly, what they fucking eat. I feel like diet is a big part of it because it's your skin. I'm not saying on the immediate. Listen, I'm not saying on the immediate. What did you eat while the tattoo was healing? That's not what I'm saying. But like, what you eat is like your skin.
I don't know that either. Yeah, I
guess it's an opinion.
You know what I think? Lotion, baby. Lotion that skin.
Yeah.
If you lotion often, you take care of your skin, your tattoos will look good. It doesn't matter if you eat cheeseburgers or fucking, veggies. Like, just moisturize that skin. You're gonna have good skin.
That's true. I do like the fact, though, saying that it is possible, that even like Anil, knowing that if anybody can do it, he can do it, and he was still telling me, it might not.
It might not.
It might not
last.
happen.
Yeah.
It might not last. It might not. And it was probably just about taking the. Now that I'm tattooing, it was probably just about taking the pressure off him. And I was like, dude, I've been working in tattoo shops. I don't care.
Yeah.
If my finger falls off, it falls off. You know what I mean?
Honestly, though, man, I mean, any tattooer who has been tattooing for a long time and has like a professional workflow, I think it'd be smart for anybody to be, no matter what they're tattooing, where it is, be like, you know what? It's not a 100% guarantee that this is going to look exactly how you want it. Yeah.
You might have to come back for a touch-up.
Exactly.
And even then, it might still not look exactly what you think. But if you're willing to do this with those stipulations, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's do
it
it.
takes pressure off. It's always good when your customer is cool with whatever's going to happen.
Yeah.
It makes everybody's life easier. Tattoo is definitely going to look better when you have a customer who's understanding that tattooing is not it's
not an exact science,
I mean,
there's too many variables for it to be
there's a lot of variables,
science,
healing and skin and movement, people moving. I've never really had. I feel like people, once they have the needle inside them, they don't move that. And like other body parts will move. I've never really had somebody I put the needle in and they're like moving.
I've had that.
I've
had that.
I've actually, I got my ass tattooed and I could feel like I feel like I was, my mantra is my body is dead, by the way. I'm a corpse.
My body is dead.
I'm a corpse.
My body is dead.
Pretty much.
Corpse. That's what Dean says to himself when he's getting tattooed.
It totally is, by the way. But I could feel like a cartoon, like the needle was going, and then I could feel my ass cheek moving in a different direction. And then it's almost like he was trying to put the needle, and my ass cheek was like moving.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, I'm a corpse. Like I can't, I'm not doing anything. It's the muscle involuntarily doing that. So luckily it was, flowers. So I guess anything that's more organic. It's easier to work in areas like
don't try to do like a, fucking Empire State Building.
Brooklyn
Bridge on a fucking butt cheek, dude.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare. Oh my God.
That's funnily enough, that's what I asked for first.
Brooklyn Bridge on my ass cheek. I want all the cables. Every cable.
I'm trying to think if I've done it. I mean, I've definitely done a Brooklyn Bridge. I'm like, have I ever done it on an ass? I don't think so.
All right, so let's continue going. So you got tattooed by Anil.
So I got tattooed by Anil, and he asked about my history and what I'm doing in the tattoo industry, and I was telling him. And at some point, he was just like, I wanna hire you. I'm like, okay. He was like, I don't know what you're gonna do in the shop yet, but I want to hire you. And at the time, 2015, 16, social media, Instagram was a thing. And I had worked on the Miami Ink Instagram and their Facebook and all that shit. And back then it was easy. You know what I mean? I think I opened their Instagram account, and before I left, it had like 60,000 or 100,000, which back then were pretty big numbers,
It's still pretty big numbers right now.
But it was so much easier though. It was so much easier.
It was easier to grow an account.
Grow an account when you had good content, and people there just did great tattoos. It was so easy. All I needed to do was take a nice photo.
Yeah.
Get a nice photo. And then, I started doing little video clips, and nobody was doing it back then.
Yeah.
Like it was unheard of, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that for them. And then when he said, I don't know what I'll hire you to do, I was like, I'll do your social media, man. Like I'll enjoy it too. So I started showing up there, and I would just hang out and go through his photo archive, really, and start posting things. And I grew his account not by a lot, but It grew by the thousands pretty fast. But he had a different view about what it should be.
Yeah.
So I felt like at some point he wanted different imagery that was just, it wasn't talking to anybody, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I was doing that, and eventually he was like, why don't you, I was like, he asked me actually, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I want to apprentice. I've been chasing this for a while. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in this shop, in that shop, in all these shops, and hang out with all these fucking legends. And I just want to apprentice.
I wish Anil at that point said, I'm sorry, tattoo shop is tattoo school is closed.
Yeah.
That would have been golden.
Oh my God. Luckily for me, or unluckily, but luckily he was like, no, cool. I will show you the way. You know what I mean? And I started apprenticing there, and his apprenticeship would have been very, very not traditional. You know what I mean? I mean, at that point, I moved in with you, John.
Yeah.
I moved in.
He was my roommate.
Yeah, I was your roommate, and you had just opened. You had just left. Sacred, and had opened No Idols.
Yep.
And I started working there too.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think I was working like the floor in 3 different shops in addition to Anil. And then at some point, you guys also offered me like an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I was doing like 2 apprenticeships, and your route was like a more traditional one. And Anil offered me something else. Anil offered me, honestly, drawing.
Yeah.
He offered me drawing. And I feel like that was my biggest, what do you say, like...
Hurdle?
My hurdle, yeah. You know, I wasn't a good painter or a good drawer or like a good illustrator, whatever you want to call it. That was the thing that was missing the most. Like I could do, at this point, I feel like I could do color washes, you know. In hindsight, you know, maybe the No Idols route would have been also better, or I would have moved faster, or I would have understood things in a different way. But at that time, I definitely wanted Anil's
input
and guideship or whatever.
I think it also matters too, like when you're like, you know, like you looked up to this guy for a really long time.
Yeah.
Now you're in front of me and you have the opportunity to be in there. Yeah. That has like a weight onto itself that it's huge, you know?
Yeah. And I know so many people that would have loved to have been there, you know what I mean? And learned under him and things like that. So
plus he was super loner guy.
Super loner.
You know, like worked by himself for like ever.
He's had people there, but you know, he's the main character.
Yeah.
He's the main character.
And he's a character.
And he's a character.
He's hilarious, actually.
And he doesn't want other characters necessarily. You know, and it was strange, you know, it was a street shop.
Yeah.
But it was like a private studio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd have to buzz in. I never really saw that many shops at that point that you had to buzz in. And he didn't let anybody in.
Do you still talk to Anil?
I do not at the moment talk to him. I've sent a message here and there and got a response, but I don't really know what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
That's the truth. So
man, I'd love to talk to Anil Gupta. We should try to pull some strings through Dean over here to try to get him to come in or talk to us.
I would love to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
And I think he's for me also being there for so he's a genius.
Yes.
There's some people in this industry that are geniuses, and he is one of them.
And he was an innovator. Like when I got to visit his studio a few times, and like, you know, he was the first person that I saw that had like photography quality, like light setups for when he's tattooing. He had like all of these like gadgets, like his tattoo machines were like magnetized, so he could just put them somewhere, and like when he was working, like he could just put them up somewhere. Like it was wild, dude. Yeah,
he's
crazy studio.
You know, when Bishop came out with rotaries, I don't know if the date is right, 2006 maybe or something like that.
I'm not sure either.
Whatever. He instantly was like, rotaries, done. I'm using rotaries. you know. And with the photography shit, he had an entire photography studio in one of the back rooms.
Yeah.
Like full on everything's coming out of the ceiling, and like he had a huge printer, like a plotter printer. He just had everything. Anything new he would buy. He would take 3D photos of his clients' arms.
Yeah.
Like he built this rotating thing so he could do those photos, and then he would draw directly on the 3D. I feel like nowadays there's more people that are doing that, but I never encountered it at that point. So it was great, you know what I mean? And he really worked on my drawing skills. Like he would make me sit down for hours on end and just draw. He, in particular, anatomy, that was the real thing that he felt would help me. I feel like it was very customized to what I would be doing. So I feel like I spent years sitting and drawing skulls.
Yeah.
Just that's all I drew. And then really it helped my line. You know what I mean? I don't even know that when I say a line, I feel like not everybody would understand even what that means. You either have to be an artist or a tattoo artist to understand what I mean by like line, like a figurative line or a line that looks good on the skin, things like that. The one thing that I would say, learning from a genius is hard because he can't always
break it down simply.
Yeah. He'd be like, just look at what I'm doing. So I spent a lot of hours looking at what he was doing. And you know what? It became useful years down the line. I'd be in the middle of a tattoo and I'd be like, what should I do here? And then I'd get like a flashback of what Anil was doing. And I'd like, let me try this.
You see Anil's face in the clouds like Mufasa.
Yeah, like Yoda, or I'm actually thinking of the Spaceballs yogurt. So it was pretty tough, and it was an interesting experience. And at some point, you know, it was a street shop, but it wasn't a walk-in shop.
Yeah.
So the amount of tattoos, once he was like, okay, you're good, start tattooing. I had been in New York for a couple of years, and I really didn't have that many friends who were willing to just like get tattooed by me. To be honest, most of my friends were, tattoo people, you know, like John, and I'm like, John, I don't think you wanted to get my, like,
I'm not getting tattooed by anybody that has any fucking...
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Who am I getting tattooed by? The guys that, love hate, who are they, who is going to get tattooed by me?
Yeah.
So that was difficult for me. And at that point, actually, I just remember I started working for fucking Ink Master.
Yeah.
I started working for Ink Master. It was such a good period of time in my life. Like, it was one good thing flowing into another good
How'd you
thing.
get involved with that? Because I feel like people always like, how do you get that job?
I was recommended. So I was working the floor for you guys. And I was working the floor for Love Hate. And I was like substitute at New York Adorned. And I was just like working. I was working.
Your name was around enough people that it could found its way to something.
I was working 8 days a week. You know what I mean? Like, the manager at Ink Master was looking for an assistant or possibly somebody to replace him. And he asked around, and I guess my name got dropped multiple times. So once my name got dropped multiple times, I jumped to the top of the queue, and I don't even know that I had an interview. I had a phone interview, and it was pretty much, I think it was like, the person I was talking to was James Fox. I don't know if you guys have ever met James. He was the floor person there, or shop manager at Ink Master for many, many years, since their very first seasons. And excellent guy. He used to be, it's all so interconnected. He used to be roommates with Chris Garver and Ami James back in when they were living in New York in late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I don't even know the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But early on. And I think I had a phone interview, and he was like, cool, I don't even need to know anymore. Your name's been dropped so many times.
You're good.
Then you're good. I know you. I know whatever. You're good to go. By the way, next week we're having the Ink Master finale live. You're going to work that. So my first...
What season was that?
Was it season 8? So the finale was Kelly Doty and Ryan Ashley.
Oh shit! It was that.
It was
season.
that one.
Yeah.
So that was my first. I guess that was my job interview in a way. I got thrown into the live
finale.
live finale, and I didn't do much. I just had to make sure people have what they need. Somebody needs a needle. Somebody needs paper towel. So the usual floor person.
Like
shit.
floor person, but in a much more like high pressure cooker.
High pressure, in front of TVs. Never bothered me. Like I didn't care. I was always a behind the scenes person anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like so that was a good place for me. And that was it. So I started working there, and so I was apprenticing with Anil, and I was working at Ink Master. And at that point, I remember I left No Idols to concentrate on basically. I just didn't have any more days, so Ink Master was it was also good pay at that point. Like it was probably I'd like to think I was the highest paid floor person in the world at that moment. You know what I mean? Like it was good. It was pretty good. And I was able to work there 2 or 3 days a week, and the rest of the days, and support myself well, and the rest of the days do the apprenticeship at Anil's. So the reason I brought that in is also because at that point, when I was able to start tattooing, suddenly I had a pool to tap into.
Yeah.
So I tattooed a bunch of people from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a good thing also. And after a few years, Anil was like, "Okay, you're done. It's time to go out into the world and start tattooing," which was actually really, really tough because I felt like, fuck, I didn't really learn anything about tattooing.
You learned how to draw a skull, right?
I learned how to draw a skull. I learned a lot about tattooing. I learned a lot about needle types, machines. I definitely worked on a lot of different things. I tattooed a few people. I tattooed a bunch of fake skin. I didn't like the fake skin. I didn't feel like it was giving me anything.
Because it's not. It's not.
It's not. I see people that it works for them. It's some kind of practice, but for me, it just wasn't the thing. And I was released into the world, and I was like, fuck, I need to find a walk-in shop. I got like 5 bad tattoos under my, in my portfolio. What the fuck do I do? So, I kept, I guess for a few months, I kept the dream alive at that point, and I was tattooing friends, whoever I could. Most of them weren't great tattoos. And, after I had about 20, maybe even, I want to say 50, but, out of those 50, 30 of them weren't great at all. I had maybe 20 tattoos they were passable.
Yeah.
They were passable as tattoos. I started just going around shops, walking the beat. I don't know if you use that term, but I was just walking around with this portfolio with a bunch of tattoos. And, some shops I was literally laughed out of. Some shops were nicer about it. I also knew a lot of people, so I'd go to them too, but, I was miles away from where these shops were at, And eventually I found a shop, which was a walk-in shop, a marketing-based shop. So they had in a way figured out this fucking social media shit. They figured out cheap social media tattoos and how to get people in through the door. And very quickly, I was doing like 10 tattoos a day.
Yeah.
And I was just, at that point, I was just trying to...
Was this Live by the Sword?
No, it wasn't Live by the Sword.
Okay.
It was a NYC tattoo shop.
Okay.
So
that is the most what do you call it?
Searchable?
SEO
Yeah.
searchable fucking name
Yeah.
ever.
So, actually, I even did a stint at Live by the Sword in Bedford, like for I did like 3 days, and I think it was before I found the other shop. And to be honest, I'm surprised they even let me work there. But at that point, it was a small shop, and they were doing the exact same. They were cheap, small tattoos, and you know, I'm not saying that they didn't have good artists, but most of the artists there were people like me.
Yeah.
Who maybe didn't have a traditional apprenticeship.
Still
or
a little
maybe,
green, still trying to work their shit out.
Not, let's be honest, not Lil Green, like
Green.
like vegetable green. You know what I mean? And you know, I was there for 3 days, and it didn't work out. I didn't enjoy it either. It was like super small. I think it was their first shop. They only had that one, or they had just started doing markets. Like they had all these weird markets, and they do like a booth, and so I ended up working in 2 shops for them. But it wasn't there for me, and I didn't enjoy the atmosphere. It was super small, and I was looking around, and to be honest, it's not a nice thing to say, but I was like, these are not the people I want to work with. Like I'm not going to learn anything here. I'm just going to fuck people up.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. So I found this other shop, which hadn't figured it out just yet. They were like, come back in 2 days. We've figured something out.
What does that even mean? Yeah, like come back in 2 days.
I don't know, but all I know is I was there for like a week, and there was like nothing. It was me and this other dude, and he had been somebody who had been tattooing for a decent amount of years, but also like didn't understand the basics yet. You know, we were both like, I was super green, but it was different, but I liked him, you know what I mean? And he cared. I feel like that is what at that point, that's what I looked for.
People that give a shit.
People that give a shit. Like if somebody came into that shop that day and was like, I want to get this. And I was like, yo, I'm not, like, I can't do this. I would say that. And I wanted to work around people that would say that.
Yeah.
And not just take their money and fuck their shit up.
Yeah.
Of course, I was also fucking shit up, but at least I was aiming towards...
Controllably fucking shit.
Correct. I was aiming at things that I felt like I could do a good enough job where I maybe wouldn't sleep at night, but the person getting the tattoo was happy.
Yeah.
You know? And whatever they figured out in those 2 days, suddenly the influx of people was insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And suddenly I went to like tattooing 10 tattoos a day. Sometimes more. I think one day I did 14, I did 20, and they were all small things. And in my mind, all that I wanted to do is take whatever I learned theoretically at Gupta's and at other shops by just being there and looking at other people, you know, whether it was, you know, Chris Garver would be the biggest name, but, you know, in all these shops, in the Miami Ink shop, in the Love Hate in New York, I'd sit there and watch, you know what I mean? Like, not only would I watch how they're doing it, I'd watch what they're doing. So anyways, obviously I was aiming to much simpler and smaller tattoos. And all I wanted was time with the machine. That's literally what I would call it in my mind. I'd be like, this is time with the machine. Just like if you're learning how to fly an airplane, you need time with the simulator, you know? But in this case, I didn't have a simulator. I'm doing it on people. Yeah. So try and aim tattoos that you can do. And I guess after 2 years of that, or a year and a half, 2 years. And obviously, I just want to mention when tattoo shops are like that, and they're also maybe the people there, the people around me seem to care about tattoos, but not necessarily everybody, and not maybe the guiding force of the shop. I don't know that necessarily care. They cared more about money. the thing becomes super toxic. You know, so I felt like once I had enough grip, enough hours with the machine, I was like, maybe it's time to move on to a shop where people are just like a lot better than me and not the same type of green as me. So from there, I started looking around for other shops, and where did I end up after that? I ended up at Three Kings, and you know, in reality, I just kept, you know, we were talking about my apprenticeship, and now I'm moving out of the apprenticeship, but I feel like my apprenticeship really was in that shop, in the 14 tattoos a day shop.
When you're grinding out, doing a lot of tats,
volume, and occasionally you'd get people who knew what they were doing, and they would give you tips, maybe do this, maybe do that. And you would try it out, and you got to try different machines and different everything. So I feel like when I finished that shop, like in reality, I feel like I was still apprenticing in that shop, you know. But this, you know what the sad truth is? I was making so much money in that shop.
Yeah.
And in a way, I don't feel bad, but I'm like, I don't feel like that's where tattooing should be.
I feel like a lot of people get stuck there in that spot because they've reached a point where they're making some money. And then if you measure your success by like, look at that, I'm making money now. I must have made it. I must be good. Like, I'm making money.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for the right reasons, like, it's not going to be enough. You're like, I made some money, but I'm not making work that I'm proud of. I'm not doing something that I want to like show people, like, look at this fucking cool ass thing that I'm doing. Like, you're not really pushing your artwork. And I feel like that's what separates a tattooer that is constantly striving to grow and to get better and push themselves and be around people that have that same mentality than the ones that are like, oh, we made a bunch of money today. Sick. And that's where it ends, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally, you literally described what I was, I couldn't have said it any better, basically.
Yeah, and that's awesome, man. I'm glad that, you know, I think that because you worked in so many shops with people that were super talented, influential, and inspiring, you know? I think that was already embedded in you, that, you know, like, this is not it. Like, there's more to this than that.
The post, I guess, was so high, you know what I mean? It still is, but like, I feel like you should always look further away than what you think you can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You should always think kind of bigger and better. And it's there, you know what I mean? Bigger and better is there. Just takes time and effort and suffering a lot of closed doors in your face, and what was the phrase earlier? The tattoo shop is closed.
Tattoo school is closed.
Tattoo school is closed, and like,
that should be a T-shirt.
That should be a T-shirt. And you know what?
I want to make that.
I know, we should make that and sell it to a convention here.
And you know what? If tattoo shop is closed, don't go. Not tattoo shop. If tattoo school is closed, please don't go to a tattoo school.
No.
There.
Yeah.
Because that's another.
That's just clown school. That's redisguised.
Yeah. Look up. Look to people that you want to tattoo. Like, who do you want to tattoo like? Who are the people you wanna be? What tattoos inspire you? And try and aim there, and push and elbow. And I mean, I've definitely fought all my way to this point. You know what I mean? Like, I fought, and I'm only 5 years in, so I don't really feel like I'm there, but I'm definitely constantly improving. And you know, don't ignore the small gains. The small gains are what make the big gains.
What's the say? I've been trying to think of how it goes, but it's something like aim for the moon, but reach for the stars, or something like that. Where like you want to aim for the moon, right? But if you miss, you're gonna hit a star.
Yeah.
You know, that's even better.
Yeah.
But if you hit the moon, that's still great too.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I feel like, man, you have to celebrate every small little thing.
Yeah,
and I think that too many times, you know, people either get caught up measuring themselves against other people's, you know, kind of.
It's so easy to do that. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? There's so much good work out there.
I mean, dude, I remember Matt Buck's first and second tattoo, and they were better than anything I had done for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn, dude.
Yeah, I'll never forget. So when I came to work for you at No Idols back in Bowery in 2016, what was Matt tattooing? Like 2 years by that point?
A little bit longer than that. Maybe like 4 years.
He was doing like back pieces.
Yeah.
He was doing
only
back
crushing.
pieces.
I came in for an interview with you guys, and he was freehanding like this 3-headed wolf or 3-headed tiger. on the
Yeah,
guy's
insanity,
back.
dude.
I was like,
I
what?
think
Where
I
am I
remember
walking into right now?
Yeah, this guy's insane. I know. Some people are geniuses, man.
Yeah.
Some
And,
people
you
are
know,
geniuses.
another, you know, would be, it's great to work also next to Matt because he has so much good input and he sees things that you don't see.
Yeah.
But, you know, trying and learn directly from him would be so difficult because I feel like certain things you can't explain.
He's actually a really good teacher. I'll give him that. He's actually excellent at explaining things and a really good teacher, which I've been meaning we should definitely do like some stuff with them for the Patreon supporters, not for everybody. So
Man, that Patreon is getting pretty sad. We
I know
stuff up.
we got to put some stuff up there for you guys because you guys really rep, and even if we haven't and you're still supporting the Patreon, we appreciate it because I feel like, man, if I had $1 for all the awesome messages that I get from people saying how much they appreciate this podcast and that tune in and they feel inspired and feel good, you know, it's pretty incredible, and I'd like to thank all of you guys that tune in every week and support the show. What's trouble over there?
Speaking of Patreon, let's get this out of the way. We have, you know, being that we've been pretty quiet on Patreon, we haven't really been getting any new subscribers, but we did get one recently. And if I could try to find out where my app is, I'll let you know who that is. Oops, something went wrong. I don't know who it was. Ah, fuck. Okay, so Mac Kelly is our newest Patreon supporter. Thank you, Mac. If you want to be like Mac, head over to patreon.com/honest tattooer and sign up to be a Patreon supporter. Also, we should announce that we have a website.
Yes, we have a website, guys.
On our website, we have it's very limited.
Yeah,
but it'll do what we have to do. It's got so it's Patreon. No, that's not what it is.
No,
it's honesttattooer.com. There's a guest application on there. So if you want to be a speaker on the show, you can go onto the website, fill out the application. We'll get to a little information about you, and then we can kind of go back and forth. And if it's a right fit, we'll get you on the show.
Yeah, and it's as we're winding out to this year, we're starting to plan the guests that we're going to have next year. And if you're a tattooer and you want to come on the show, if you feel like you're a right fit, you know, you can come out, maybe do a little guest spot. We have Airbnb situations we can link you guys up with and make it an awesome trip for you guys to come to New York City and be on the pod. So if you're interested, make sure that you go on the honestttattooer.com and you fill out the guest form and holler at us.
Yeah. I think that's good.
I think that's great, man.
No, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're a talker because I was kind of quiet tonight, but I'm sleepy, so it worked out.
I'm definitely a talker.
No, you're a good talker. You know, you're able to share a very long story of how you got into this industry, because I feel like, you know, when me and Matt were talking about what we should talk about tonight, I was like, we're talking to Dean, dude. Don't worry about it. We got it. I was like, He's got a lot of good stuff. Don't worry about it.
I feel like I have so many more. You know what I mean?
I know.
And even there's so much more to go.
So for people that want to find you, where should they find you?
I got a website, deansahartattoo.com. You can hook me up. And I'm here at No Idols. So if you want to get tattooed at No Idols, I'll be here. Call the shop, hit me up. This is where you can find me right now.
Sick.
Sweet.
Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you like this button. Make sure that you share this video because it helps us out a lot. And we'll see you again. We hope we have a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, anything you celebrate, and we'll hopefully see you next week. Take care, guys. Thank you.